What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh my gosh. I hope you guys are ready to receive the best hour you have ever seen in your entire life. Why? Because we got it all, baby. We got hope, we got positivity, we got incitement, we got encouragement, we got inspiration, motivation, empowerment, the whole nine, man. So I hope you guys are excited about this. Pull up a chair, pull up a couple shots, let your hair down, kick your shoes off, and get ready to receive the most power-packed hour you have ever seen in your entire life. I'm excited, baby. Let's go.
Hey, listen up, y'all. I'm gonna shout out this young gun right here because he's trying to do his thing. Joseph Jaffe, not famous. Probably rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm famous because, he not famous. And he like, yo, let me call my famous friends and see if they'll shout me out and make me more famous, sir. Right? But so, Joseph Jaffe, man, it's cool. You got your late night talk show popping off. That's what's dope. Streaming, been doing your thing, man. Started this in March of the 2020, which is, tough throughout the years, but booking great guests, man. Jamal Mashboard, James Rollins, steady building it, man. Keep it popping off, man. Keep building your brand, man. Believe in yourself. Keep going hard, all right? That's what it's all about. One of these days, this little acronym of yours, not famous, is not going to be true. People going to see you in the mall and be like, I know who you is. Them going to be your cousins saying it all incorrect like that. But you know what I'm saying? You know what you going to do. What you going to do? They family. All right, bro. I'll holler.
A spring in your step. There is a twinkle in your eye.
I can throw a rhyme down for you real quick. Yes, they call me Thrill. They say that I'm the man. You disagree, how could you? Let me make you understand.
Should we bring her on the show? Can anybody find me? And there she is.
Fresh as some bread. Pour right from the oven. When you feel rejected, you get some like a loving.
Take on me.
She looks wonderful. Mom looks amazing.
Somebody to. Okay, more bugger off now. I've got to show it to you. Love.
Like that?
Joseph Jaffe, ladies and gentlemen.
You just made the new intro of the show. Wow, September 30th. We are 1 day away from October 1st. The fourth quarter. What are you doing in the fourth quarter? Have you had a record year in billings and revenue? Okay, maybe not. But the fourth quarter represents new hope. It represents your fourth attempt to get a single, to get a double, to get a triple, to get a home run. And by the way, even if you bat 250, 1 out of 4, that's a pretty respectable run rate. So your future lies ahead of you, and the only way is up. And tonight we're gonna celebrate the power of branding, of personal branding, of color, of fashion. This is a colorful episode, even though I'm wearing a leather jacket, but there's magenta all around. Just look for it, and you will find it. You will find it. But first of all, I want you to look and find a QR code. Wait, there it is. See that QR code? That QR code is your ticket to getting one whole Jaffe coin, my creator coin, my cryptocurrency. I want you to point your phone to that and get yourself a free Jaffe coin. There are no strings attached, and it's awesome because you become part of the Jaffe economy, and that coin will be your entry, your entrance ticket, your ticket to ride, your ticket to experiences and wonderful, wonderful guests like my guests tonight, and more on her and of her and about her very, very soon. I want to single out someone who took advantage of the Jaffe economy, Natalie Nixon, Dr. Natalie Nixon, previous guest on the show. She bought 1 hour of my time, about $300 she paid. It fluctuates because that's what happens with crypto. And I said to her, Natalie, I'm just so chuffed and so, blown away by the fact that you did that, because I would have given you my time anyway. But I said, I'm going to promote you. I'm going to promote you this whole week. So she's the unofficial sponsor of the show. And she's put together this incredible creativity quotient mindset. What I love about it is in the middle of this mindset is gratitude. Gratitude, which gives rise to humility, humility, which breeds curiosity, curiosity, which is the catalyst for empathy, and empathy is what leads to action, and action leads to equity. So this is a model that she's put together. I'm intrigued, and you can learn more at figure8thinking.com, where you can hire Natalie for a keynote and strategic advisory services. And while you're there, download a free sample chapter of The Creativity Leap, which is a book. By the way, this is completely on the house. I love it. I love being able to, to repay generosity and kindness and pay it forward. And so I just wanted to send some love to Dr. Natalie Nixon. Now, Natalie asks smart questions, but today is National Ask a Stupid Question Day. And Toy is smiling in the background. What is a stupid question? I don't know what a stupid question is, but I will tell you that often when I'm giving a keynote and maybe, there are certain audiences and certain cultures like the Dutch or the Belgians, they're a little bit more shy, they're a little bit more reserved, a little bit more introverted. And I try and encourage them to ask a question. And I always say, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. So I put the onus on me, on myself. The only stupid person is going to be my answer. And sometimes the stupidest answer is an answer, as opposed to being able to be humble again and say, I don't know. But we always try and fake it till we make it, and kind of like, where is my little bleeper there, and our way to kind of an answer. That's imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is not a syndrome. It's just somebody who's an imposter. So there are no stupid questions. So ask any questions you want today. Ask it in the comments, and maybe Toy and myself will answer it. I will say I don't know, and Toy will give you intelligent, fantastic answers back in return. I'm excited by the fact. I mean, we had our Chris Factor of Matts, West, and Wallace, but we end the week with the Queen herself, with Toi Sweeney, and just a little bit of a sneak preview. Next week, Kate O'Neill, J.D. Gershbein, Ethan Butte, and Robert Rose, the famous Robert Rose, will round out our Thursday. But we're focusing on Toi tonight. She is the founder of the Well Dressed brand, and I don't know how well dressed I am, but I certainly hope that I'm dressed to impress. At a very minimum, that I impress her. And then tomorrow at 12 noon on Zoom, just watch my social media channels, and I will share the URL. We have 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 of our previous guests, some of the creators, popping in. It's just an opportunity to hang out. There's no agenda other than recapping their episodes. And it's an opportunity for you to ask them questions. So we're on Zoom. It's like a town hall. And again, if soon, you will need to pay to get in. But guess what? You will only need to pay a Jaffe coin, and you can get the Jaffe coin for free. So really, you're not paying at all. But it is a gate for our community. We close the gate so we can keep the community inside, but anyone is allowed to enter at any time. So, it's all good. It's just all good. Well, what's good? Our seated soliloquy is good. And as always, that the soliloquy is going to be connected to my guest. And I got to say that, first of all, Fire Sam, last name, but I guess Fire Sam says, listening to this before I sleep, it is 4 a.m. here. Cheers, and have a great show today. I'm sure it'll be great. Wow, that is amazing that we have someone watching at 4 a.m. So I guess they're in maybe Dubai or somewhere like that. Fire Sam, tell us where you are in the world, and I hope this doesn't put you to sleep. Maybe you just woke up. But this soliloquy, like I said, is called Clothes. Oh, that is not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. That's what happened when I went to the bleeper. When I wrote the intro to tonight's show, I used the old adage, clothes maketh the man. And to be compliant in today's day and age, man, woman, non-binary. It's true, and no doubt my guest tonight, Toy Sweeney, will shed some light, color, context, texture, and depth on the subject for both corporate and personal brands. In this soliloquy, I wanted to focus on our professional wardrobes and specifically what has happened to our appearances over the global Patricia from March 2020 to present day. Let me begin by saying that the trends we are witnessing and living through began years before 2020. Perhaps the first hint of the demise of formality was casual Fridays. Now, as a side note, I often chastise corporate executives who think that wearing jeans makes them a startup. Some even throw in a ping pong table, beanbags, and a token dog to boot. Woof. We don't look to Don Draper as a role model, certainly not in 2021, and definitely not from a behavioral standpoint. But that said, he was immaculately dressed, cleanly shaven, and his appearance oozed professionalism. What would he look like today? Jeans, black t-shirt, or perhaps an untucked collared shirt? Hell, he might even be wearing pants. Or actually, I should say, not wearing pants. Because these days, Don sits on back-to-back Zooms. Well, I guess there, without wearing pants, he would be like the old Don Draper. But I digress. These days, we've resigned ourselves in our work from home heaven or hell based on your unique perspective to basically give up on appearance. Hair, makeup, clothes, grooming, pants. And it's not just what we wear, it's our visual backgrounds as well. Perhaps we need a professional room rater. Sounds are important too, and even though we are often helpless to keep out a crying baby or barking dog, nor should we, but are we even making the effort to take that noise away from the call or the workshop or the meeting at hand? Now, I just want to be clear. I'm all in favor of eliminating the unnecessary formalities of corporate life. At the same time, it's also clear to me that if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect someone else to respect you? And for all those entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, gig workers, and freelancers out there, find the time to invest in your external appearance and surroundings, because no doubt it will fuel and fire up your internal spirit, attitude, outlook, and motivation. Now, we may never wear ties again, but every now and then, dust off the cobwebs, get dressed up, and see if it changes your mood, approach, and work product, even if the webcam is turned off. Now it's time to turn the webcam on and welcome our guest, Toi Sweeney. The well-dressed brand is the brainchild of founder and chief style officer Toi Sweeney, an award-winning fashion stylist, brand image strategist, speaker, entrepreneur, certified Fascination Advantage coach. Okay, you got to start off by telling me about that. And the author of Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. From founding her own design firm, Her Majesty the Queen, that's why I put the crown on your head, to managing the image of almost 30 TV personalities at the leading home shopping network. I wonder if she'll take me on as a client. She uses her background to tell original stories through fashion, and I assume background literally and figuratively. Toy's passion and talents has earned her a variety of honors and accomplishments, presented with a prestigious Telly Award and featured in Where Women Work magazine, Forbes.com, BBCnews.com, and on over 30 podcasts. This is Toi Sweeney. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I am great. And by the way, Firesem is in Greece.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for tuning in. That's fantastic.
And there's some crowns for you. And Natalie Gregg says, woohoo! Toi Sweeney is in the house. Lead loudly, well-dressed brand, personal brand. So everyone is happy to see you. And it's interesting to me because you speak about background. your background is wonderfully plain because you are popping.
Well, my background is plain because I just moved to upstate New York and I've only been here a month. And so my entire studio is set up, but I have not had an opportunity to hang anything on the walls. So that is the truth as to why it's so plain.
Well, you're gonna have to pop back in and show us your new background.
Yes, I would love to do that.
I am intrigued. But you know, it's funny. Like I've chosen a very different approach. When I started the show, my background was a green screen, and it was always something associated with my guests. So, for example, before I did this, my green screen tonight might have been your ebook, because I wanted to always make it about my guests. And now I'm kind of going with this idea of the noisy, loud shelves. But if you look very carefully, there are all these little Easter eggs from my background. You can tell a lot about me if you look very, very carefully. And I'm curating it, and I love it. You know, I don't know what Room Raider would give me, and I don't really care. But I'm having fun just kind of building up my shelves.
I love it. I like the little red purse, little glass red purse from your wife's shop.
Yeah, we
that
unboxed
there.
that last night.
Yes, I love that.
I know,
Maybe-
and so every time she sends an email, I'm forced to buy. So, you know, she owns the bottom shelf. What can I
I
say?
love it. That's fantastic.
Thingsilove203.com. She just got another plug. So she has you to thank, Toy. But, you know, speaking of toys, a different kind of toys, well, this is a kind of toy. We get into a special section that we call fun facts. And it's an opportunity. You saw it last night. And I have to tell you, normally I love nothing more than to take the head off with her head of my guest and Photoshop them onto something. But I actually couldn't do it with you because these fun facts were so interesting that I kind of like, well, you know, you'll see what I mean now, because here's the first fun fact about you, which is like I didn't even want to like Photoshop your head on because like your husband and you are cornhole champions
Yes.
in Katy, Texas, and
Yes.
I was like, how is that even a thing? And then I found out that here is Wisconsin native Maggie. Have you ever come up against Maggie Geiger? Did you kick her ass?
No.
You know, do you even know who this person is?
I do not know who that is. And it was not that deep. This looks very serious. This is not, it was just like a group of like, you know, I don't know, 15 couples. And we just played against each other in somebody's backyard, but we have medals and trophies, and it was very serious to us. And so John Sweeney and I are cornhole champions. Yes, we are, and proudly so.
Look, I really need you to teach the arrogant Maggie Geiger. We're just doing a little bit of smack talk at the moment. You know, in fact, I want it to be live streamed on pay-per-view. Geiger against Sweeney.
Let's
Two
go.
walk in, only one can leave. How about that?
Right. Challenge accepted.
Nice. What? Look at this. John Sweeney says we are the champions, my friends.
That's right.
So you know, John Sweeney is watching as well. And John, you know, take on Maggie, please. If Toy doesn't do it, you need to do it. Or I'm sure Maggie's got some, you know, arrogant partner as well. I'll be getting like a cease and desist from the Geigers.
Yeah, you are.
from the Geiger counters. Well, so I found out another interesting fact about you, which is you see, there was a little bit of Photoshop as well. You cannot stand the sight of chewed gum.
No, I think it's so disgusting. Like it just completely grosses me out when people are playing with it and they're twirling around their fingers and it's stuck to under tables and chairs, and the smell of it. I had a family member one time at a wedding, they were serving dinner and she took it out of her mouth and placed it on her dinner plate. And I couldn't eat the rest of the night. I was so grossed out.
So I want you to, I want you to look at this this image very, very
Yes,
carefully. And
I see.
I look, here's what I did for you is I did not because I'm a nice guy. Show like some gross, like image of like gum under like a desk or something. But I wanted I basically found out because I started to do some research and I found out that this is crazy. Chiclophobia, right? Like chiclets. Chiclophobia is the fear of chewing gum.
No.
It is a rare specific phobia that manifests in a variety of ways. If you are a chiclophobic, you're likely to have a fear of, coming even close to a person chewing gum, the sight of previously chewed gum. But now here is the interesting fact. Behind this image is a very famous personality by the name of Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey is a chiclophobia.
No,
Chiclophobia. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's
Winner, winner,
fantastic.
chicken dinner. She developed the phobia after watching her grandmother's bad habits.
Mhm.
She grew up poor in Mississippi, and her grandmother used to try and save gum, and
Yes.
so she would put it on the bedpost and the cabinet. And Oprah said that as a child, she would bump into it, it would rub up against her. So I won't even. Apparently, she banned gum from the offices at Harpo Studios. So great minds think alike, and chiclophobiacs unite.
That is fantastic.
Anyway,
That just completely made my night right there.
I thought you would be impressed,
I'm very impressed.
So, I mean, I think there's something that, I'm sure psychologists would be able to very, very easily say all the greatest chiclophobics, have gone on to great things. So there was so much I wanted to talk to you about, just, off the bat. By the way, Chris Chanel says bubblegum in Portuguese is chiclete. Chiclete. Bom dia. Bom dia, chiclete. Or something like that. So I don't know. This is what happens when I come straight from teaching and start drinking red wine. Toy,
I love it.
let's talk about what it is to be a stylist or an image consultant. And if I've learned anything from doing a little bit of research is, there's a lot of fakery out there. There aren't many real deals, and you are the real deal. So what is it to be a stylist from a personal brand standpoint, an image consultant in today's day and age?
Well, thank you for recognizing all of my hard work. So there's, like you said, there's a stylist and there's an image consultant. The fashion stylist is typically someone who, it's exactly what you think or what see in the dictionary, right? You can put together an outfit. It's very intuitive a lot of times, and they know how to do it, and sometimes they may not know why they're doing it. Where an image consultant is more about the rules. They're like, the necklace should be 6 inches from this drop, and we wear these colors based on your skin color, and da 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 da. So it's more about rules. So I merged the two of them together. Because I'm not so much of a rule follower. I am very much so with certain things, but I just, when I was studying to become an image consultant, I was like, this part of it is stupid. So I just threw some of the rules out, but I found some of them to be intriguing. So I merged it together. And as I started to look at branding and learning more about things from a branding perspective, it just made sense. As everyone was, talking about all these different things about 8 years ago, no one was really talking about the image perspective, right? Because we know that branding is about association. And a lot of times, at some point we have to get from behind the camera. And even when we're on camera, you only have, so many seconds to make the right impression. So looking at it from a personal branding perspective, I don't care about first impressions. I want you to make the right impression, because the right impression for you is a different impression that I want to make. I want to make a different impression than you. And, Sally Hogshead says different is better than better. So it's not about about the first, it's about the right, in my opinion. So I merge them together. I use the color of psychology and silhouette, but really more importantly, your brand message and what do you want to say? And then we just put all of that together and we craft a very strategic, specific brand right image.
If you're up for it, and we can talk about this, we can talk about this offline. I'm happy to throw my name into the ring, and have you critique and figure out what my image might look like or should be. I love actually like putting myself out there as well and trying to find that authentic self. But that is part of it, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned something. I think it's so brilliant what you're doing, because
Thank you.
what you've done is the perfect mashup, right? Even with brands, there's branding and direct response. There's the ability to take the best of two worlds or both worlds or extremes and bring them together. And so you've done that. You've brought art and science, form and function together. You've brought it's the guardrails and the guidelines, but part of it is gut and intuitive. It's like natural. Some people are naturally stylish and other people are not. It's the same thing. Like some people are just bright, naturally smart, and others have to work hard. But if you get the result at the end of the day, does it matter how you got there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I was like, I have nothing to add to that. That's 100% right. Yeah. And so what you were asking about before I came on camera was about the Fascination Advantage. And so one of the things that I use is called the Fascination Advantage, and it is an assessment test that it was created by Sally Hogshead. Sally is created How the World Sees You is the name of the book. You can go to howtofascinate.com. And so I'm a Fascination Advantage coach. I'm certified in the system. So I use that to really lay the foundation of a person's personal brand. I also use it to build high performance teams on the corporate side, but for the branding purposes of it. So you get this 16-page report, and it's the only assessment test in the entire world that tells you how the world sees you. It's a great compliment, to Myers-Briggs and Strength Finders and all of those things, but they tell you how you see the world. So this is the only one that tells you how the world sees you. So I take that, and then I also have you take my style test, and then I merge it together, and I create a 100% brand appropriate lookbook for each of my clients.
Oh, I love that. A lookbook.
Yeah.
It's like a lockbox, but this is not a lockbox. It's a lookbook. Well, I love Sally. She's been on the show. We yodeled together. We both chirioreoed toasted audio together. And actually, this was I always put a little like a 1-minute clip associated with my guest. So this was actually the one from Sally. So I'll just
love it.
The advantage of a really strong personal brand is that it makes it really easy for people to identify what's on brand for you and what's off brand for you. It becomes the more highly differentiated your brand is, the more clearly people can look at it and say, yes, that's something that this person would do, or no, that's not. But the problem is that those characteristics can start to become a caricature, and you become defined by those brands rather than you being able to define them. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't have personal brands, but what I'm saying is we grew up with Tom Peters in the 90s talking about this new concept of personal brand in 1997 in Fast Company. And then Seth Godin took that torch and carried it further. But I think that for people who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s, the concept of personal branding is becoming archaic because it's not evolving fast enough for us to be able to change quickly and for us to be able to pivot.
So funny. I'm just watching you nodding your head in the background. But I mean, And it's so funny as well that, Tom Peters has been on the show, Seth Godin has been on the show, and now Toy Sweeney's been on the show. I can't wait to find the 1 minute highlight from this interview.
I love it. Well, I've met, let's see, out of all those people, I have clearly met Sally. I've been to her home, and she has mentored and trained, so many of us as coaches under her tutelage. So I'm super grateful for that. I talk about Tom Peters in every keynote that I do, because so many people don't understand where it's come from, where it came from. And I love Seth Godin. I'm always emailing and tweeting him and bugging him. I did stop for a long time. I might have to start back bugging him.
He's amazing. And actually, if you look in the background, the other background, that background, you see a little, there it is, that little birthday cake.
Oh yeah.
That is wood fired or wood forged that he made for me on my birthday. He was on my show on my 50th birthday. So it was very special. So, it's another little Easter egg on the shelves.
It's fantastic.
So Toy, I'm gonna give you two topics that you can pick and you can juggle, and whichever one we don't get to, we'll get to the next one afterwards. But we've spoken about color and the distinctiveness of color, but more importantly, in terms of first impressions, this is actually an article that you shared, which actually talks about, I think you're quoted in this one as well, like, do the colors you wear at work matter? And you also talk about this, you mentioned it. It's one of my favorite quotes. I have a little riff on it, which is, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression, but you do get a second chance to make a great second impression. So that is that's the one let's talk about that. And then we'll talk about the evolution of personal branding. What does personal branding look like today in 2021? So let's talk about color and impressions first.
Well, I love when I really started using the psychology of color. I was working at QVC, the biggest home shopping network at this point that there is, under Curate. And I really, as we were doing, live shows, and at that time, I think they were in like 300 million homes. And, really the question became, can color sway the thinking of the viewers at home? Like, can it really affect the bottom line, number one? And can it really change their perspective? Because they're one of the few retailers, electronic retailers, that kind of they'll offer a t-shirt and it'll come in like 30 colors. And of course, they've always been inclusive with sizes and everything. But so I really started to quietly, as I was dressing the models at that time, these are the customer's favorite models. What if I infuse some of their personalities into the way that I was getting them dressed? And if I just started using colors, not that was necessarily the highest quantity, which is what we were trained to do, but what if I put her in the color that she was actually supposed to be wearing for her skin type and for her eye color? Would that sway the viewers enough to want to buy? And I noticed that it worked. And so I was like, okay. And then I was also employed there when we lost our son. Today is the death anniversary, so 13 years ago.
I'm sorry.
And so thank you. And so when I came back to work after that, and I didn't want to be seen as sad. And so, because what was happening is that most of my coworkers and, just people that were in the building knew that we had been trying for a really long time. So we made it to about 6 months of pregnancy. And then I had a uterine eruption and our son passed away. And so I finally returned back to work, and people would see me and they would just burst into tears. And, at some point I was like, okay, I have to get to a place where I'm able to work and move on, because work was a good distraction for me. And I was kind of plagued by the sadness of others, as well as I was still grieving. And so what I started to do was to wear very bright colors. I mean, like red and turquoise and orange and like just bright, 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 bright all the time. And so people stopped seeing me as sad, and they would start to say things to me like, you always look so happy. You always look so joyful. And so I was like, man, I might be on to something here. And so I was like, okay. So then when I got promoted to the point where I was a style director and just now part of the team working with all 30 program hosts, I had to ask myself the question that I now ask all of my clients. What do you want to say when you enter into, a room? What do you want people to think and feel? Branding is so emotional to me. Like, what do you want them to feel? So the answer to that question is that I want it to be seen as an authority. I want it to be seen as an expert. I want it to be seen as chic. And, I want it to obviously be well respected. So the big thing for me was elegance, right? So I was like, what is an elegant color palette? So I decided that for me, an elegant color palette was navy, gray, ivory, and black. So I only wore those colors for about 6 months. And so I would wear all ivory or all gray, or I would mix the colors up together. And then it was like I put these little branding messages all over my body. So I'd have a necklace that just said chic on it. I had a brooch that said chic. If I decided to wear jeans to work that day, I wear a graphic t-shirt that says chic on it, excuse me, with a blazer over top. And and so I just kind of was only in this color palette to see if it was work. So one day I was in the bathroom and I walk out of the stall, my vice president at the time, who had come from Walmart, Claire, and we walk out of the stalls, we get to the sink and we start washing our hands, and she takes a step back and she looks me up and down and she says, "You always look so chic." And I thought, holy crap, this works. And so
That's one of my words.
I was like, that's it. And so, it really just confirmed the way that you could really use color to persuade thinking. And I had now 3 case studies. And so when I did my first podcast and I started talking about this, at the end of that podcast, my friend Ryan Roten's like, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I think I will. And so Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand was born. But I don't think that we realize that even when someone is buying a product, right, they're 90% more likely to choose it based on color. 90%. And so if you're a product or you're thinking of yourself as a product, then the color that you're wearing is just as important.
Wait a second. Say that statistic again.
So it's most people, 90% of them are choosing, like if you go choose to buy a Vitamix, it's 90% based on the color. So like, what is it? It's not Vitamix. What is the other one that comes? Well, everything from QVC comes in 1,000 colors. But yeah, so they're more likely to choose it based on color than anything else.
And it's funny because I think this is a quote that comes from you as well, which is there was research from Princeton University that says when we see a new face, our brains decide whether a person is attractive and trustworthy within a 1/10 of a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable. So that first impression, it's science, it's research based. We form that opinion based on whether we can trust them and whether we're attracted to them or professionally within a 1/10 of a second.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to work hard for that to happen.
Absolutely. So now imagine, so I just spoke at a mortgage brokers conference just a few days ago in Vegas, and I was traveling with a friend of mine, Valencia King. I'm wearing her jewelry tonight, and so she is a force and a brand within herself. She's 5'10" and she dresses in head to toe yellow, and so not only is she, grabbing that right impression in that 1/10 of a second, but then she's also a force and a vision in yellow, right? And so yellow is the color of optimism and intellect, and her entire branding platform is about or her branding difference, if you will, is about joy, 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 joy. And so she's wearing the color of joy head to toe. So the amount of people that were stopping her, going back to what Sally says, different is better than better. And so everyone was stopping her. And I love that color. I love that color. I love that color. And then she could stop them and say, and then they go, oh, I also like your necklace. And she'd say, oh, this was featured on Oprah's favorite things. And and really go into, who she was as a personal brand. It was phenomenal to watch. It was phenomenal to watch. So it really does matter. And then understanding, again, what you want to say. And then I choose colors for my clients that is going to land that message home and really help to get you to the next level.
Well, it certainly wasn't featured on Oprah's favorite, used gum.
Absolutely not.
But there are two things, if I can synthesize, what you were saying, which really, really kind of like land with me, and it's just like really powerful stuff. It's this, first of all, it's the fact that when somebody sees you for the first time, are they picking up on your brand values, your brand essence, your brand characteristics? Like for me, I know like passion is a part of my brand DNA, and there's a whole bunch of other things. What would it take? I've never thought about it that way, which is, what would it take for someone to look at me and see passion, and other brand attributes? That's the one thing. The other thing is, why do personal brands not actually act, aggressively enough to say, we're going to own a color, we're going to own yellow, we're going to own this color? It suddenly just becomes so clear for me. I mean, one of the examples in the articles is brown. Who would ever want to own brown? UPS owns brown, and brown, I had no idea, is like the color for reliability and dependability.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
And I think that that's interesting because there's a shade of brown. It looks a little bit more cinnamon. That's like in the trend forecast of colors. That's kind of like a big trend right now. When I think about us coming out of the Patricia,
you got it. Well played.
I think that that's something that we kind of are craving. And I even love for you that you're using magenta, because magenta is really about harmony and emotional balance. It's an encouraging kind of calming sense of this outlook on life. And so if you were my client, then I would make sure that, maybe, if you decided to wear, I'm just making this up, a navy blazer, then maybe we have a magenta, handkerchief, or magenta, lace up shoes, or we do custom made magenta sneakers, and so that we balance it with a neutral like navy or black, but there's always a pop of magenta somewhere. Maybe it's a custom made magenta watch, or something like that. So that message is always running through someone's mind when they see you, like, oh, and they start to associate you with that color.
I love it. And, Joe Polizzi, who's been on the show a couple times, he owns orange. And, Toy, it's so funny. Ironically, in my soliloquy, I was talking about kind of the death of ties. But ties have been like the one thing that men have been able to actually use to bring color to their, everything from the penguin suit, to the striped, to their kind of, what, I don't even know what do they call a suit that's striped? There's a name for it.
Yeah, no, I got it. Like a pinstripe, or
pinstripes. Yeah. I wouldn't even know. As I said, I work from home. But it's unbelievable how few men in this particular case even wear color.
Yeah, I think that it depends on the industry too, and
Sure.
so the ties have been swapped out for, for sneakers or kicks, right? So it's
Right.
more about you having, some people are just going to do the all white ones, some people do orange ones, yellow ones, red one, whatever. But those are ways. Sometimes they switch it out for, a graphic tee. I was working with my friend Ryan Roten, and we decided on the color yellow for him, and I balanced it with gray and navy, and we got graphic t-shirts in yellow. And I sent him, I have these, let me see if I have one near me without disconnecting my mic. I have these colored t-shirts on my website, so that goes through all the colors. So black is the color, tells the world that you are an authority, that you're sophisticated, elegant, whatever. So I sent him a yellow one. And so, like, it's those kind of things that you can do and just have for fun, that you can incorporate in your brand, and so I like to wear a lot of red, but I also wear a lot of black. But those are my 3 brand colors, and ivory or white, that I kind of switch, and I added metallic gold this year, to just kind of make it a little bit different. But those are primarily the colors that you see me in every time.
Well, I always find a quote, as you saw last night. It was so amazing with you watching the show last night and commenting. And I was like, this is so cool. She's going to be on the show tomorrow night. But this is the quote that I found for you.
Uh-oh.
Style, don't worry. Style is a way to say who you are without having to. And let's just take this away, and then you'll see what I mean. The grand reveal, speak. Style is a way to say who you are without having to speak. And obviously a lot of this is Rachel Zoe, and a lot of the quotes come from the industry, but they shouldn't. I mean, they should be coming from, Toy Sweeney. But it does come back to this idea of first impressions lost, right? First impressions lost. Toy, well, there's one more topic that I want to talk about because it's too important not to, but let's have a little bit of an intermission and bring our resident philosopher, Mr. Tom Morris, onto the show. And he's produced a segment this week on our Philosopher's Stone Thursdays on ego and humility.
Yeah, so I just read Tolstoy's famous novel, Anna Karenina. It's about 2 really beautiful people with gigantic egos who get what they want, and it destroys their lives. Yeah, I just saved you about 800 pages in a couple of weeks. You're welcome. I'm kidding, though. The wisdom is in the journey. But the idea of big egos having great success and then going down in flames seems to be a common theme in world literature, and for a good reason. During the first decades of our lives, we build up ego structures to help us flourish in the world, to encourage our initiative and confidence, for example. But if these ego structures get too big, they become distorted, and we turn into egotists who care only about ourselves. This, the great writers have noticed, is a problem. Some of our best artists and scientists have discovered that in order to really know the world more deeply and see more broadly what should be done to make it better, we need to whittle away some of our bloated egos. And in fact, greatness seems to come from an ability to put ego aside and let deeper realities fill us up. So whenever you see ego out of control and getting in the way, whether in your own life or in the actions of others, step aside with a wise and powerful humility and find a better path instead.
And that's Tom Morris.
That was good. I have to get some of these sound effects. That was pretty fantastic.
You got to. Which one do you want?
I liked that one. Every time I make a good point, I want to hear that.
I actually think this is the one I need to use for you the whole time. So yeah, that's the Queen's wave. I know it. I know it. So, in the time we have left, I want to get back to such an important topic, because it's a beautiful crossover and a bridge between what you do and how you do it, and something that we all need right now, and that's mental health. And so you have, I think, a particular point of view and thoughts on how what you wear impacts your mental health. I think I alluded to some of it even in my soliloquy, which is, if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect anyone to respect you? And it's not about, it's not meant to say that you disrespect yourself, but it's like it's taking pride in yourself. But that was my thought. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I think that, it's very obvious to all of us, right? That the world is changing. It's different. And so it's not that world that we grew up in. And so I could care less, honestly, about the fashion and the outfits. It's really not about that. It's about what happens, again, when you're putting on these certain colors, when you see these certain colors, the associations that you have with the clothes that are in your closet. But even more importantly, just how it makes you feel. And so it was 2000, right? What year are we? 2020, right before the new year turned over. I think it was in December. I can't remember if it was Psychology Today, because I have researched this so much that I'm getting my articles crossed. But it was, this psychologist was talking about something that I already knew, but he was really confirming my words, which is, during the Patricia, they were finding that even if it wasn't so much about the outfits, right? It was more about, if you got up and put a fresh shirt on, if you just took a shower, it was really raising the state of your mental health. And so there are studies that have been done, and I talk about all these in my book, that was, that the whole dress well, test well is one thing, right? So they've been doing that at universities for a really long time, that students were finding that when they tend to dress up, they were performing better on tests. And there's tons of articles like this that suggest that when you dress a little bit better, right, that you're improving your cognitive skills, you're able to focus a little bit more, you're making less mistakes. Excuse me. I've been talking a lot today. and all of those things. And those things are more important to me than an outfit or the fashion of it all. I could care less, but how are you doing? And how does it make you feel? Because that's how we're going to be productive, And so I've talked to so many people, I'm sure that you experienced this too, is that as we all were officing from home and working from home, on those days that we decided to, again, not necessarily dress up. It's not about being fancy. It's not about outfits and all of that stuff. But the days that you took a shower and just put a clean sweatshirt on, put a fresh pair of pants, whatever it was on, you just felt better. And so it's really about that. And so that is what I love about what I'm doing, and it makes me different than most stylists or image consultants, because I don't really care about trends. I don't care about the trends. I'm going to make sure that you're relevant, but it's really about what you want to say, where are we trying to go, and how does it make you feel when you're wearing these certain things?
I think that's such an important point. And as you were talking, I was I had two thoughts. In the we're talking about ADHD before. But the like squirrel. No, the first thought I had was, if I was watching this right now, I would be glued to the screen, because this is just so amazing, the conversation. I mean, so often I watch like video and I'm like, I'm so bored. Like I can't even concentrate for 10 seconds. But anyway, it was it's my inside voice talking outside. I was like, this is just such a good conversation. Like I want to go back and watch this again. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the second thing is, I've struggled sometimes to think about paying a lot of money for a piece of jewelry or a piece of fashion or apparel, or shoes, etc. And and half the time I think, but people looking at me wouldn't know how much I paid for this or how little I paid for this. Oh, I went to Marshall's and I got this, but you would never know, right?
Mhm.
Or TJ Maxx or whatever the case may be. And then it just struck me as I was listening to you. It's sometimes it is for outside validation. Sometimes it
Mhm.
is for people to look and go, oh my God, is that Prada? Is that this? Is that whatever? But other times it's actually not about them.
Right.
When you said I couldn't care less, it just struck me. It's about you. It's how it makes you feel. It's the
Mhm.
confidence and the self-belief and the validation. And sometimes just the ability to say, man, I deserve this. I've
Yeah.
worked hard and and I want to treat myself and I want to actually kind of take care of myself because the whole the old or the analogy, which is
Mhm.
when the plane hits turbulence, the mask drop down and they say, put the mask on your face before your child or before your spouse.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I take away from what you just said.
That's brilliant. No, I love that. And I think that, here's an example of it in action, right? And so just really going back to you being your genuine self, right? So I had an opportunity where I really wanted, and I've been wanting these pair of designer boots for quite some time. I want the boots and I want the bag. And so I was at a crossroads the other day because I was like, you could spend all of this money, like a mortgage worth of whatever on these boots, or you could take that money and and this is what I decided to do, instead of you buying, this pair of shoes that would be the equivalent of somebody's mortgage, you could just support a small business. You can, instead of you spending $2,000 on a pair of shoes, you can take $500 and support this artist that just made and buy one of her, custom made leather handbags. You could, you know, PayPal another marketer who it may be out of work and is struggling to feed her family because she just lost her six-figure job and she can't find a job right now, and that might be groceries for her and her family. And so that felt in line with my brand, so that was what I decided to do because I didn't need the accolades of outside, and just wearing these designer shoes to this event. I felt good enough knowing that behind the scenes, like that was what I did. And I felt better about it, you know?
I love that, and I'm just making a note of that. It's like pay a lot or even overpay for fashion, but specifically to support a small business.
Yeah.
So if it's a small, young, you know, fast growing independent designer, that's when you want to pay a lot as opposed to Gucci or
Mhm.
or Hermes or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And that's a different kind of feeling in terms of now you're feeling something else about yourself, not just I'm great, I'm amazing, I've made it. It's what Tom was talking about in terms of ego and humility. Um,
Mhm.
Now you keep on teasing us, Toy,
Oh.
with this idea of exactly of this book. What is this book that you speak of? Oh, this is the book, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. But I have to take umbrage with you, which is why is this only on iBooks? This book needs to be on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and wherever books are sold. What does it take to
Well,
release this from the shackles of iBook?
well, the reason that it's only on iBooks is because I wanted to create something that there was a couple things. The first thing was that as I was, researching the book, I was reading all of these articles that were saying that people weren't really reading these books, that they were buying them, but they weren't reading them. And I really wanted people to read it. So I designed it, wrote it, and created it in a way that you could get through the entire thing in 30 minutes a night for 3 nights. So it's an hour and a half, right? And so what I did was I hired a camera crew because it was before Zoom. There was a much cheaper way to do this now. But at that time, I didn't think of it. So I hired a camera crew and I really went to New York and I was in Philadelphia and I interviewed these industry leaders from, just various corporations, and I'm interviewing them and also talking about branding from a nonprofit perspective, from an entertainment perspective. I have 2 celebrity stylists that I interview. I interview a client of mine in there. And so it's an interactive ebook because there's videos and things, lots of graphics and things like that. And at that time, iTunes was I think they still might be the only place that could house a book that had videos. So that's why, is because it has videos, because I wanted you to be completely engaged. I wanted you to really learn something from it. And then when you look at the reviews, they're like, I wasn't expecting this, And so that's why I was being a little creative.
Yeah, well, creativity is great, and I have good news for people watching, because if you can't figure out the iBook thing, then you can actually download Toy's free ebook. Free, everything's free. Free Jaffe coin, free ebooks. Wardrobe is a business strategy. If I didn't believe it before, which I did, I do now. And all you have to do is go to toysweeney.com. You can find out more about her. You can find out how to hire her. I think every single person, that calls themselves a personal brand needs to hire you. It's like clearly obvious. Toysweeney.com. Download the ebook. Wardrobe is a business strategy. I'm about to go ahead and download that book myself, so that I can find out how people can see me when I walk into a room and they say, passion, magenta, yes. Passion.
Absolutely.
Toy, it was an absolute pleasure. I loved having you on the show last night. I hope you will stick around and be a part of the show and come and you don't even have to lurk, but you are a friend of the show, and you are also a friend of Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
Yes.
Exactly. Winner. Zoom reunion show tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.